Welcome to the Meditation Podcast. All our episodes can be found on meditationpodcast.org. They're all different, so be sure to listen to them all. My guest today is a good friend of mine. We're doing a course together and releasing a new podcast, but she's actually studied meditation from a very young age. And I think that people need to know the different angles and how people got into it and the different knowledge that's available. So Bharati Corinna Glanert, did I say your name?
Yes, perfect.
So please welcome to the show.
Thank you, dear Roy. Thank you.
So you mentioned that you started from a young age. You might tell me your journey.
Oh yeah. Actually, I had some experiences when I was a kid. So I thought everybody has that. You know, when you are a kid, you know, you think that everything you experience, this is the world, right? And after a while, I found out, no, not everybody sees dead people. Not everybody gets visitors in the rooms. And my grandmother was also very psychic and she had abilities too. And she told me, don't tell that to other people. They might think you are weird. So actually, I locked up with that experiences. It was a little lonely, you know, and I just talked to my grandmother mostly about that. And so I had some experiences, out of body experiences connecting to other souls. Then when I got older, I wanted to belong to other people. And, you know, I went to go to parties. And even though I never felt really connected, always thinking on a very different level and sitting outside while other people doing party and looking at the stars. But at that time, some abilities went down. That is when I started to search. So I started a very big searching marathon, you can say. Started at the age of 15, 16. And I did a lot of seminars and looked for a lot of teachers and mentors until the age of 24 when I started to stay in India. So there was almost a 10-year period or a 9-year period where I just looked up to get that energy again, which I lost.
Okay. And when you found somebody in India, how long did you actually train doing that, and what did it entail?
Yeah, so the journey was like that. Before I came to India, I stayed 1 month in the Philippines. I studied with a shamanic healer there, and I got power words. So that are words we're connecting them as mantras in the Indian tradition. At that time, I didn't know that this is a universal language there, and that there are ways to access that energy. Like if you want to go on a computer, you also use certain keys. So in spiritual energies, there are also keys you can use. It's like calling a phone number. So, and there I really felt, wow, this is working more than Reiki or prana healing, anything I heard before. So when I came to India, I just wanted to stay 5 days in India because I was busy doing healings with the knowledge I got from the Philippines. And actually, I felt so much truth there, being in India, connecting to that old divine energy, which is thousands of years old, which comes off the palm leaf books, you know. It's not somebody comes up with some energy and just tells, this is my knowledge. It's given by thousands of years of many, many generations. And many yogis prove that, you know. And so I felt like, wow, that is really amazing. And from that 5 days, it went to almost 10 years staying in India full time.
A slight extension.
Yeah. So my mind was also saying, what do you do there? But step by step, I gave up everything. My rented house there, my car, everything. I sold everything to stay in India and just go deep. So I lived on donations for almost 10 years and just did meditations and mantras because for me, it was important not to believe what somebody is saying. I really had so much longing for the experiences and very, very thankful I got a lot of them. And I got a lot of explanation also what it was I experienced when I was a kid. So there I found really what I was looking for.
Beautiful. And like with the mantras, I mean, that's you're kind of stimulating a frequency by actually doing a mantra, and that's how it's resonating with the heart or whatever part of that you're doing. And like, how long typically would you want to be doing a mantra to get a good effect?
That's a super good question, because what is so beautiful is that people listening to mantras and don't even know how powerful the effect is by just listening to them. There's so many podcasts, it's just somebody chanting a mantra, but it's different if you have a mala, if you have like some beats where you chant on that are 108 beats. And I do my mantras on my mala. And when you sit down and really chant, after a while you get a mantra siddhi. So siddhi means the supernatural power of mantra. And once you get that mantra siddhi, you're not just having a positive effect, you're really getting to see supernatural energies. So, and that is what was really interesting to me. That's why I was sitting down so long, sometimes until 14 hours a day.
Wow.
So, and I did that for years, So it depends how deep you want to dive in. Right now, I have a feeling, and this is also something the Nadi books are explaining, that you don't have to do that so long anymore, because when there's a certain negative energy on the planet, everybody who's meditating gets so much faster the energy, because the divine sees and knows we don't have that time anymore, So I know that from generation to generation, it will be more easier as we go deeper in the Kali Yuga, in the dark age time. That energy we access, the positivity, will be also much faster and quicker. So I feel if you do an hour a day really chanting, that is huge in these times. You feel the energy, and you not just feeling better or like, transforming some energies. You feel the kundalini, you feel the heat, you feel the psychic heat, you feel tingling on your third eye, you might get some telepathic things, and you're like, oh my gosh, how come I knew that? And so you will get very amazed. And that, real spirituality begins there where the mind is shuttered.
And must you actually say it aloud, or can you just be kind of saying it in your head to get the proper vibrations? Because, for example, if you're in a house that the other people don't really kind of appreciate what you're doing, or are you better off going out to the garden and kind of saying it out? What's your experience?
So my experience is the most powerful thing is if you're chanting it silently. And also yogis doing that, they're even hiding their malas. They don't want to show it. They're hiding around the scarf. Or the Krishnas, the Krishna tradition, they have an extra bag and they're hiding their mala in, because otherwise if people looking at it or hearing it, it goes in the nature. So that energy goes away. So it's good to do that silently. And the only time when we do it aloud is when we're singing for others or with others to build the energy as a group. But if you do it for yourself, you can do it everywhere. You can sit when you have to wait for a bus, or, I was just 2 days ago, I was at the dentist and I was chanting mantras and I went so deep into trance. So, you can use any moment in your daily life to do that. You don't have to show it even.
Yeah, I mean, you can do 5-minute blasts if you don't have the hour and just. And what's the 108 from? Do you know what's the history of why 108?
That's a beautiful question. So there is a lot of secrets about the numerology. I don't know in English, like the numbers.
Numerology.
So
Yeah.
numerology, thank you. And 108 has to do with the chakra. So when you do the 108, there are 108 main petals on each chakra all together in our body system. So if you do one round of the mala, you touch all of that petals, and that vibration goes through the whole energy body and your prana body. So that's why when you really want to do it well, you take a mala, you sit down, you chant the mantra in silence, and you're using these 2 fingers. There are different traditions saying different things. The tradition I'm coming from is using this finger and this finger, and you're chanting it, and with a straight back, that's important, the spine, that the kundalini can come up and not crippled, So otherwise you get some blockages. So you should really sit straight. And then if you do that, that energy is touching your whole etheric body and your physical body also.
And is there kind of scientific proof? Because I know they can kind of check the auras and everything with the fingers, because I've seen so many things. Some people say don't, some put their hands together, some do this, some do that. Is there kind of what's the actual history behind that?
I know. I mean, I know many yogis, I think I know more yogis for my life, because I not just stayed this 10 years in India, but I always went back and forth until this Corona thing came. And so I have a house there rented, so I have more friends in India than in Germany, actually. And many of them are yogis, I think, many past life collections. And so sometimes when I was sitting on a fire with them in the evening on a duni, and I ask a lot of these questions, and they're actually saying there's so much science there. And one yogi told me some years ago that 25% is only left of that knowledge of the nadis, so of the palm leaf books. And there's so much, and we had the times before, in different yugas, time ages, there people lived completely under the Dharma and the science, and they built the temple of it, and they lived their life like that, and they did the pujas over it, and so there was no negativity hitting them. So because they got so blessed by the divine, and they got so much protection to the higher worlds doing all these rituals, but it's not all there yet now anymore. Some sciences there, not everything anymore.
And have you come across any breatharians? There's some people, they don't eat. Did you come across any of them? You have?
Yes,
Like,
many.
that's incredible when you look. I've seen videos of that. It's incredible.
Yes, I saw things that really actually also miracles that brought me in different stage of consciousness. And the scary thing is that, what I realized, that the ego can be also triggered. There's a spiritual ego. Once I saw my first miracle and connected to really high divine energies, I felt, oh, I am doing that. So that's a trap. That's why, it's very tricky, the ego is very tricky. So that's why also many of those souls are very humble. They are very famous gurus out there, but the real powerful ones, mostly they're not exposing, or if they're talking, if they're famous, people don't know what they're having abilities in them, because it's not that they have to show the world. But I know some, yes, and one of the most amazing is Maya Ma Amma. She lived for over 300 years in her physical body, and she not just had the power of not eating, she had all the main cities. So mantra city is giving a city-like ability, and not eating is one, but not breathing is the most highest. So that is very, very difficult. There are very few sitters who attain that, and they are in the mind not from this world anymore. They look like very crazy, like they're called avaduts. Normal people would think that is a beggar on the street and just even be like, oh, But if you are studying that tradition, and if you see how much Maya is there, what illusion is there in the world, and how they come out of it, and with each city you come more out of that illusion if you don't go in that ego track. And I spent some time with the main student of her, and I didn't realize that he had that city too. And because he was so humble, and I didn't know that. And I met another yogi later who said, wow, you went with Maya Matata and is a student of Mayama. Oh my gosh, he can also sit in the ocean, he can sit under the water. And he can meditate there, and you just spend 10 days with him. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then all this time sitting with him, I felt later on, so, oh gosh, how is that possible, that my mind was not able to see that, and I'm in my ego thing, thinking nothing happens, what was not true. But he just told me to meditate. I tried to talk to him, my ego tried to talk to him, get knowledge out of him, and his answer was always meditate, meditate, meditate.
And have you done, because I know a few people, they've done like the 10-day silent retreats. Have you done that?
Yeah, I did a lot of silence. I had to stay when I was in India. I had even months where I was not talking. So, and I did 1 year of full, we call it in India Muni, because silence is so powerful. So for 1 year, each Monday for 1 year, I was not talking, to practice that energy, to get that really developed. And Monday is the day of Shiva, so that consciousness is very loving, but he's also giving everybody the energy, the good and the bad. It's very difficult to understand for the humankind, but at the end, with him, always the good wins. So, and that if you connect to that silence, you get a lot of unconditional love and peace. But so I practiced that for 1 year on Monday because I felt this is a way to step a little bit out of the Maya, to not connect too much into all that illusions here.
Okay, cool. And I saw, is it flow therapy? You might explain what that is. I saw that on one of your websites, flow
Yeah,
therapy.
we do darkness therapy. We do darkness retreats. So I have a small ashram here now in Germany, and it has 8 rooms for complete going into darkness from 3 days to 49 days. People come in full darkness here to us and really explore. And I started this because in my spiritual journey, in my sadhana I realized that if you meditate, I meditated in temples where people go in and out. I went to different power spots and they're amazing. But my mind was always on once my eyes are there, right? So I'm seeing people, I'm judging like, oh, this scarf is pretty. Oh, this guy, oh, how long is he sitting? Oh, does he meditate or is he a tourist? Blah, 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 blah. So it's always going on. And when I was sitting the first time really in silence and darkness, there I felt, oh, here is something really different. I'm really connecting to my higher self and not, to the outside so much. So I'm not losing so much energy outside. And so that was my motivation to do the darkness retreats in Germany. That happened step by step. We not just started the center, I just started with 1 room, then we moved to another place. We had 3 rooms, and now we have this 8 rooms plus a temple room. And yeah, now it's really nice. And but doing this work, I see to get into that stages of consciousness and really deep relaxation meditation, you have to do the work on your, on your blockages. And when people sit in silence, mostly comes up the pain body, trauma has come up. That was a little surprised because when I started that, I was thinking everybody who goes in the darkness will have experiences like me. But we have to first clean out to get to the deeper experiences. And some people already cleaned out and go very fast to these experiences. Some people clean out and go to the experiences. And some people just are here to clean out. And it's really beautiful. I mean, I feel very honored to always connect to the people in the dark. I just had this morning 3 talks, and I'm going to the people in the darkness retreat. And each person is different. Each journey is different, and it's always connecting the soul to the higher divine energies. And that is so beautiful because what's happening there is a soul to soul talk, because there's nothing any more important. After a while sitting in the darkness, you're just coming to what is really important in yourself.
There's a friend of mine, he did 10 days. Like, he does a lot of stuff like that, the 10 days norm, but he did 10 days in the dark. And like what he said is he was making notes because he was getting kind of a lot of downloads, and that he couldn't read his writing because he was writing in the dark.
Right.
What about the food? Like, are you vegan or vegetarian?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm vegan.
Vegan.
Yes.
Yeah. And how have you found that? When did you change to vegan? Have you always been from an
No,
early?
No, I mean, I grew up normally, there was a time when I was a kid and I felt something is wrong here, I mean, I always felt this, I don't belong. And I went fishing, can you imagine? I went fishing, and there was a realizing, going fishing, and there was an old man sitting there, and he said, do you know that this fish feel pain? And I was like, really? And he said, yes. What do you think if you have a hug in your mouth? And I was like, oh. So that was the first step. Then later on, I freed some rabbits on our neighbor. He had some rabbits, 20 rabbits, so I freed. It was not cool. So, so anyhow, I realized the way we treat animals and how we think they are things we can just consume was not right. But the real flip, unfortunately, only came very late, I think when I was 18, 19. and then I stopped eating meat. And yeah, unfortunately, it took so long. But since then, I cannot touch meat. That is a no-go. And yeah, then I also went on a raw food diet, but that was mostly because I felt sick, and I had a lot of healing with that. But also seeing, how food is connecting to the consciousness, you know. Many years later, I went to the Mahakumbha Mela, which is the biggest festival for yogis to meet. It's amazing. There are millions of yogis meet. And there was a big Mahakumbha Mela 2013. And it was so crowded. It was so amazing. Even helicopters was flying to see all the yogis gathering from the Himalayas everywhere. And I was there, so lucky. 1 month with a group. After that, it was wow. I just felt I don't need anything anymore, just a fire in front of me and my mala. So I connected to many yogis there, and I met there a yogi who told me, and I didn't know that until now. He said, even if you don't meditate, if you just eat raw food or you do fasting sometimes and you give up something, you want to purify yourself, you're connecting so strongly to the divine. So eating without harming animals is a very important path in the white yoga. In all that energy work, there's also the bad side. I have to say that. I also was not believing that in the beginning when I went to India. But that's true. They're called the agoris. They're eating meat, they're drinking wine, they're using different energies, but they're accessing the deeper energies. So be careful with that, guys, whoever listens, because some people think every guru is a guru, or every shamanic is a good person, or every Indian guru is a good person. It's not like that. I had to learn a lot of things like that. And so it's very important, if you really want to access the higher divine energies, you have to live a life of dharma, and there are certain rules connecting to ethics, and otherwise it's not possible. And one of them is don't eat our brothers and sisters, right? So.
Same with alcohol. I presume you've removed alcohol from you're giving that up as well. Yeah. Oh, very good. And your podcast, actually, because I was actually on your podcast, so you might tell the audience what's the name of it and what's the actual objective of your podcast.
Thank you. My podcast is Spirit Balance Podcast. It's a podcast for consciousness on involving. It's also always connecting to spiritual topics, but it's not just mantra chanting. It will also come. I have some plans for that. There will be some mantras, but for me, it's important that we integrate all the topics of life and see what we can learn from it and how to connect to our real spiritual energy. And for that, we have to open our eyes, and we have to open our consciousness, and we have to work on ourselves. And so my consciousness is for developing that, and also going sometimes to places in our mind and also in our space where it feels a little uncomfortable to open up again, because that is part what happens when you wake up. When you have a real spiritual awakening, you're seeing that anyway. So having certain topics to listen to, it's also helping you to grow a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you've got a few different companies relating to kind of health and everything. Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned about the darkness kind of retreats that you're doing, but you might tell us about some of the stuff that you're, I presume it's all kind of natural products and things like that you're promoting.
Yes. So, I never had a business plan or anything like this. Everything just started to happen. I'm just learning in the course what I'm doing with you. I'm learning some of the things, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could have taken a lot of time and struggle, but it's okay. I learned like this. So I have a small online shop for raw food, and that will be also moved to a bigger one soon, and will be also in German and English. That's called Raw Balance. So there you find only raw vegan chocolate, very good things, and raw vegan things, nuts, and everything with the best high quality, and colon cleansing, and everything you need to really nurture your body. And my main shop is the Spirit Balance shop. That is also already available in English. And that started when I was in India. When I had to come back for my visa break, people said, can you not bring some Rudraksha mala, some real energy beads? And I brought it in the suitcase. And then later on, some friends said, Bharati, you cannot just bring a mala in your suitcase and sell it. You have to make a company. I said, why I have to? Okay, then I learned about that. This is how the online shop started. And I just relaunched it some months ago. So we cleaned up all that old things which were, had not right descriptions and everything, and we put it in a really nice way. And there you find really, really powerful beads, energy beads, yogis also wear in India, and malas and things for meditation and everything that helps to develop our energy. Yeah, and so I import that from the people I know. Also, some things are directly from yogis, so collecting things, Rudrakshas in Nepal, and sell it to me. And when I pay them the money, from that money they go to the next pilgrimage. So yeah, and I'm very happy to come to that point now where I start to really bring these two worlds for myself together, because I was long years not really arrived here in Germany and in this world. So now I feel in learning also to handle all of that, that comes together, that spiritual path and that worldly path, because we need to also learn that, or we can sit in a cave and meditate. I mean, some souls choose that, but so if we want to be here, we have to connect both worlds.
Oh, exactly. And what about, like, say, the energy blockers? Do you have anything like that for the frequencies? Because we're bombarded at the moment with all the frequencies from the telecommunication. Do you have something that can stop that? Because I know that's detrimental to our health.
Thank you for saying that, because that is something I felt super strongly 3 months ago. And I said to my team, you know what, we have to do research, not just on organoids, because that is one thing I really recommend to really get super good organoids, because Wilhelm Reich, he was one of the guys who connected the knowledge of making energy fields with organic and inorganic components, and that are stones. Unfortunately, I don't have one here right now, but you can look it up on my page. And the organoids are, creating a protection shield and also giving you good energy. And he built rooms with the organoids where he put people in and they got healed. Later on, they burned his books and killed him, but his knowledge survived. And I have a very, very good friend who makes this organoids, and he got a huge spiritual awakening 2 years ago. He was a normal guy, and then he got all these downloads, and now he's just sitting in his cellar listening to beautiful mantras and meditation musics, and makes it organoids a full day. So I get really good organoids, because they are also sometimes fakes you can get, so we have to be careful that they are not plastic stuff in it, that you really have real nice stones, and it has to be really create energy. And some of the people even bury them under the 5G tower. I have friends who did that, who got a lot of organoids and bury them under that. So it's interesting, and you can measure that, what it does. So that you can go with measurement thing, and you can see how the waves, the bad waves, come down. So that is proven. So that is not just some
No, I
esoteric
know it
thing.
because I have the emitter, and I was walking around, and even with the pylons, what's actually strange with the pylons is directly underneath it, there's not that much, but as you walk away, because it kind of waves down. But I was going around the house, and near Wi-Fi, near a television, even a fridge, if it's got the electronic, the frequency is huge. But I got, like, on my phone one of these block, and it actually works.
Right.
So, like, these things do work. So if the frequencies are affecting your cells, it's worth investing to, make sure that you're not, injured from them.
Absolutely. And then 3 months ago, I felt we have to research even more. And we found out that in China, there are companies who produce, unfortunately, clothes for people who have to work in 5G areas. and protect themselves. And there are good companies and not good companies. So now I'm an expert on that. And because I wanted to have some clothes where if you have to go somewhere, that you have some silver inside, some silver lines, and just it blocks it off. And I just imported some of that into my shop, and I was very amazed because I thought, oh wow, once I send a newsletter out, everything will be sold out, but nobody bought it. I was like, oh my gosh, why nobody is understanding about that yet? So I hope the people will wake up of how dangerous those things are. I mean, we hope that the 5G will not roll out fully and that there will be another agenda coming and cleaning things up. But if you have to go somewhere where for sure there's 5G, it's really worth protecting yourself.
Exactly. And I've actually, with the book, I've got a guy, his name is Barry Trohr, to agree to allow me to put his report into it. And it is frightening. Once you read that, you know the dangers. And I'm looking in Poland, they're putting them on the top of apartment buildings. So whoever is living, not just directly under it, but within the vicinity, and they're just everywhere. They're in churches, they're in shopping centers, they're in the signs, hidden in the signs. I see now that they're making them look like trees as well. They are everywhere. So people, you're right. Like the thing is, a lot of times people will do a search. They'll go into Google and they'll go, is 5G safe? And Google is one of the bad boys now. And the first 5 pages will say why it's safe. And unfortunately, a person believes that just because Uncle Google said it, it's true. But the reality is, if there's Secret Service people that have broke away and start reporting how dangerous they are, they're used as weapons, they're used for burning, for dispersing crowds by making them feel they're on fire and everything. If people like that who have experience with it are coming out telling us, be careful, you need to heed it, you need to listen.
Yes, and that is one part, when you asked me about my podcast, actually, that is why I feel, I had a lot of the things coming because I see things, and I feel things before they even happen. And I had some visions about things that happened in the future. So I hope that we can stop that, because sometimes I think if you get visions, that you can also have them to be part of, that it doesn't have to become so bad, that you see what the dangers are there, right? And so there are visions where I know this you cannot change, but I know a lot of yogis who also see things. I'm very heartbroken about humanity. And one of the things is, also very interesting with the pineal gland, with the third eye. Once you chant a mantra, there's a really actual third eye, there's a really pineal gland, that's an organ, that is activated. And so, why we have to ask that question, why there are so many threats on the pineal gland, and even some doctors don't know that there's a pineal gland in the brain. They're not even get taught. I mean, what is that? And fluoride, everything is suppressing that. And so in India, we all wear a red point, yeah? It's to protect the third eye, and that are different herbs to activate. So that is not just something to show you're religious. Now you can get stickers. Now you can get stickers. That is not the way. But if you have the real kumkum, like I have the real kumkum, there are herbs that activate, they trigger that third eye. And once the different stages of the open of the third eye. But once you really meditate and you feel that third eye opening, you see a lot of visions and you can ask a lot of questions. And the thing is, we are not victims to what happens to us humans. We can create that, but we only can create that if we are aware and if we have enough light in us to hold that dark, because that dark will pull our frequencies down. It's always a frequency war. So all that things is a frequency war. So if we have so much light that we, no matter what, we come up, that is what we have to do. And that's why it's so important to protect, from that things, what you just said, the 5G and also other WLAN and things. And yeah, Sarah, that's our job.
Exactly. But look, I'm noticing, because I know some people are starting to get really fearful, and the conversations is like, how can we get into, like, this year alone has gone crazy, but I'm having conversations even with younger people, 18, that are after waking up, and that's inspiring to know. And there's a lot more meditating as well. So there is a lot of people that want to make positive change in the world, a lot more than previous. So the only thing is, because of the social media is owned by the bad boys, we don't see it, but just know that there is a lot of good going on. And I believe that we can actually make a shift and just keep getting the message out.
Absolutely. And I can't wait for your book, and I would love to take it in my online shop as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I must actually, because I want to get it translated into all different languages. I've already got somebody that's going to do it into Polish. It's in English at the moment, but I want to get it into, the top 20 or 30 languages, because I think the more people that actually can read this, the better. So
Yes.
So it's been amazing talking to you. I've learned a lot, and I love that, because I'm sure the audience as well has learned a lot from this. So how people can get in contact with you?
So thank you. So my webpage is spiritbalance.com, and also Darkness Retreat. You can check that out. It is also on spiritbalance.com. So, and there is a contact formula. You can write us an email. You can also find me on YouTube. That is channel Holo Vibes. I'm sharing with another beautiful soul. His name is Danilo. He is from South America, and he did here a 49 days darkness retreat. And at that time, he had a lot of experiences, and so we decided to share a YouTube channel about the pineal gland. So, and we're also talking about all that subjects. And you also can subscribe to my podcast, Spirit Balance. Yeah.
Perfect. And I put all the links into the podcast description and on the YouTube, so that people can actually find it. So it's been wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you.
So that's all for today. You'll find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. You'll also find a new podcast, the meditationpodcast.org. The new podcast is awakeningpodcast.org, and I've got the speaking podcast as well. So be sure to subscribe, share this with your friends, because there's a lot of knowledge that was shared. And until next week, take care.